So, Empoleon, as a starter, as a typing, Empoleon has a really good typing of water, steel. It's not a bad typing. You're only weak to fighting, ground, and electric, and just being a steel type is amazing defensively. You're immune to poison, and you resist normal, psychic, flying, ice, rock, dragon, bug, fairy, steel, and water. That's why I said as a defensive typing, steel is amazing. You have a lot of resistances. The only thing that sucks though with Empoleon's typing is, as usual with steel, the second typing 9 position screws over it because ground and electric, ground especially, is decently common. Electric isn't super common, but Thunderbolt is always a thing. And fighting and electric I think are decently common. But ground with earthquake is a big problem. But Empoleon has really good stats overall. 84 health, 88 defense, and 101 special defense. You're a pretty good tank. Like with all the resistances too, you can switch on to a lot. You've 111 in special attack, which is good because you can do some damage while being extremely bulky, and 86 attack, which is good because Empoleon's abilities are, what is it called? Torrent. I always forget the water one, what it's called. Torrent and Defiant. Defiant, pretty much every time one of your stats is lowered with Defiant, it raises your attack by 2. So if you get hit with an Intimidate, your attack gets lowered by 1, but then it goes back up by 2, so you're at a +1. So it's really good, especially with things that lower your speed. It's great for Empoleon. And 60 speed, that's why I said things that lower your speed is great against Empoleon, because then you get a free Defiant. The biggest thing with Empoleon, same as Infernape, for some reason, they gave it very small special coverage. Empoleon's coverage is pretty good, like physically wise. You have Aqua, you have your Stab, Water, and Steel. You have Drill Peck, which is a decent move overall. Earthquake, Brick Break's pretty good. You have Steel Wing, you have Stab both ways, which is really good. Shadow Claw, Avalanche is really good being a slower tanky Pokemon, so 120 if you get hit beforehand. Rock Slide doesn't get Stone Edge. But you have pretty decent physical moves. Waterfall too, which is really good that it got Waterfall and Steel Wing. So it has Stab but physical. It doesn't have the same problem Infernape has. But when you come down to special, same exact problem Infernape has. You have Stab, Water, and Steel. You have Grass Knot, and then you have Hyper Beam. But in Blizzard, it also gets one other move, which is Ice. You have Water, Ice, Hyper Beam, and Grass Knot, and Steel. So you have your 2 Stab moves, Ice and Grass Knot with Hyper Beam. And that's why I said same issue as Infernape. No coverage specially. Either you have your 2 guaranteed Stab moves, and then probably Ice Beam, because Ice Beam is an amazing move. And then you're stuck with Grass Knot, Hyper Beam, or Status. Unless you want to run Aqua Jet. That, I think, is one thing that Aqua Jet's really good on Empoleon, especially with Defiant. But one way to run Empoleon is kind of taking advantage of its tankiness with health. Honestly, though, with Empoleon, health and then your attacking stat is the best one 9 times out of 10. Because the other thing Empoleon does not have is any sort of recovery. It would have been really good if it got Roost, since it is a bird, considering it got Drill Peck and all the other moves, but nope, no Roost. So you have 0 recovery other than Rest, which is not the greatest because you have no way to boost your defenses. So if you rest, they're just going to whittle you down, and you're slow, so you're going to come back, last that turn, then have to rest again. But it sucks that of all the moves it learns, especially all the egg moves it can learn, doesn't learn Roost, which kind of screws it over. Which is why I like the Yawn. Pretty much the plan with this strat is you have a Guava Berry to get some health back. You want to Yawn, Surf, Ice Beam, Flash Cannon, just try to take everything out. A Guava Berry will give you an extra turn or 2 depending on if you get hit with super effective or not. Which, as long as you stay away from Earthquake, your special defense is high enough. Earthquake and like close combat, the hard-hitting physical moves, because you have enough health to survive special attacks, especially 2 or 3 Thunderbolts from non-stab, super tank or super offensive Pokemon, but Yawn, and then you force them in a situation of, okay, do I want to switch at this point, or do I just want to do one more hit to Empoleon and just go to sleep? Which, if perfect situation is if they stay in after you use Yawn, you pretty much KO them because you're going to have at least 2 attacks on them after the Yawn. Because they're going to Yawn, they're going to hit you, you Yawn, they hit you again. Either a Guava Berry procs or it doesn't. Either way, you're at good health. Especially if it procs, then you'll have probably about 60, 70 health at that point. Then you have the turn before you Yawn, then you have that turn of attack. Then you have another 2 turns of attack with either Surf, Flash Cannon, or Ice Beam. You're at least hitting them neutrally with 111 attack, max, EVs, and modest. Doesn't really matter, put it there. But you're going to whittle them down at some point. Plus Torrent, so even if they do a ton of damage, Yeah, you're gonna whittle them down. You could also do something similar, but with physical attacking, but I like the special one a little bit better just because you get a little bit more damage, a little bit more consistent damage, and a little, yeah, I just like the special one better with Yawn. And another thing you could do is try to take full advantage. This is more of a doubles Empoleon, where you'll run into things like Earthquake a little bit more, and there's a higher chance of you getting hit super effectively, so that's why I like the weakness policy. But what you want to do with this one is, especially if you can get something with a weakness policy, or you can get a Trick Room with a Ice, with Hail. Maybe your ally uses Trick Room, you protect first turn, they Dynamax into an Ice move, which brings to Hail, then Blizzard. So you have a good way to get it's pretty good in doubles, especially if they resist Surf, whether it's Water Absorb or whatever. Blizzard, Flash Cannon, or they have Telepathy, but Surf, Blizzard hits both opponents. Pretty good damage from Surf. Blizzard can't miss in Hail, so if you can get that Hail, even better. Then I like Flash Cannon just for that stab. Protects there, honestly, fully just because that first turn protect if your ally's Trick Rooming, especially if they don't expect it, so you just don't take any unnecessary damage. I like Torrent in this spot. Honestly, if you're running special attack, Torrent's better every single time. No reason to run Defiant if you have special attacks. Except for Protect, another thing you could run is Aqua Jet, just for that priority move to come in and do extra damage. Or if somebody's low on health, Trick Room runs out, or they have priority and you're worried about it, just Aqua Jet to take them out. Another thing you can run, though, for the Trick Room sets is Room Service. Lowers your speed by 1, so you get that extra little bit of priority, quote-unquote priority, in a Trick Room because your speed's lowered and since it's reversed, which can be really helpful. But I like the weakness policy, especially in doubles with this set, just because of Earthquake. And Earthquake does split damage because it's in doubles, so that makes it do even less damage to you. Plus the weakness policy doubles your attack. You're gonna do a ton of damage. But another way to run Empoleon is just a wall that does a ton of damage with Assault Vest. I personally like Scald in this set because you already have good special attack, or good special defense, plus the Assault Vest is raising it more. Let's say you go against a physical attacker, you take that first hit, Scald, you get the burn. They're kind of in the bad situation of, okay, do I switch now, or do I just do as much damage to Empoleon as I can? Because Scald is going to do a good amount of damage. They're burned, so you're going to take very little damage back. So that's why I like the Scald. Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, again, don't have very many special moves, so you're kind of stuck with what you're stuck with. And I like the Aqua Jet in the last one just for that priority hit, especially if you have low health, they switch, or you do just enough to where they're low enough to where Aqua Jet can KO them. Especially if you're low, if you're both low, and you have Aqua Jet with Torrent, that's why I have the Brave. I like Quiet or Brave 9 times out of 10 with Empoleon because of the Aqua Jet. And then you kind of can do that, just Aqua Jet, Torrent, try to KO a weak opponent, and Aqua Jet again just to do damage. Break sashes and things like that, which is really good. But this is a physical attack version of that set. But again, Defiant. If you're running physical, Defiant's better. If you're running special, Torrent's better. And the plan with this one is, especially if you can run it as your opponent uses sticky webs, or they have Intimidate, or again, preferably if they lower your speed, that would be perfect. And then you can come in with Empoleon and just do a ton of damage. Also, Trick Room's really good on this one. Especially if you can get Trick Room because you have a 20% chance with Waterfall. This can raise your defense. And just Earthquake, Drill Peck do a lot of damage. You also can run Rock Slide in here. Wouldn't be opposed to it. Rock Slide / Knockoff. Especially in, again, Trick Room. Knockoff would be really good because it removes their item. So if they have a Band or a Life Orb, they do less damage to you at that point. So Knockoff's also just a ton of damage. So I would run something like this if you want to Knockoff. I would probably keep the Earthquake just for the more damage. Drill Peck has literally 0 effect. Just good stab. Especially if you can get the Defiant, even better. But this is more of a tanky, you hit me, I'm going to KO you back sort of Empoleon. So first turn, either Avalanche or Knockoff, depending on how you want to play that. Knockoff, not necessarily 100, what is it, like 90? I think it's like 97 base power if they have an item. First turn, Knockoff. Or Avalanche if they hit you first and they're weak to it, that's 120 base power. Guava Berry heals you up once you get low, and you have Aqua Jet too. So once they're low, you don't have to take an extra damage, just Aqua Jet KO them, which is really good. And trying to take advantage of that weakness policy and your bulk. Another physical set, again, Defiant, especially against Dynamax. Empoleon's really good. So if they hit you with a Dynamax, this is the only thing that does suck about Empoleon. It's not really a negative or anything. All 3 of your weaknesses hit Dynamax. This one raises their attack, this one raises their defense, this one brings up electric terrain. So it's impossible for you to get weakness policy and Defiant at the same time, which kind of sucks. But let's say they hit you with a super effective move that like Bulldoze, for example. I don't know, like doubles too. It's also why I like the weakness policy in this double set, because they use Bulldoze. Okay, cool. You lower my attack, but then you also activate weakness policy, which is good, especially Defiant if you run a physical double set. But that's why I like weakness policy in that case, Bulldoze. But you want to get that weakness policy and just pretty much KO them. Again, Earthquake, you can replace Drill Peck with Knockoff, whatever moves you want. I just think Aqua Jet, Still Wing are great. Aqua Jet's necessary because otherwise you can get all the stats in the world, but if you get KO'd before you can use them, doesn't mean anything. But some of the other moves Empoleon has that I think are really good are, especially, well, this is a Dynamax set, but back to doubles, Bulldoze, it has Bulldoze and Icy Wind, which both lower speed, especially if you have Telepathy, and you're not using Trick Room. Icy Wind and Bulldoze are good. Room Surface, again, great for Trick Room. But this is a special Dynamax, Scald / Surf. It's up to what you want when you're undynamaxed between those two. I think they do the same damage Dynamaxed, if I remember right. So it doesn't really matter that much of a difference if you're Dynamaxed or not. Let's see. Yeah, Scald and Surf do the same damage. That's why I just have Scald there. If you want the extra little bit of damage when you're on Dynamax, Surf, but I like the burn chance in case you do get the burn and a Trick Room, for example. A little bit of worth it, because a Trick Room I think will last one more turn when you're on Dynamaxed. Ice Beam / Blizzard. Ice Beam's better. Undynamaxed, but Blizzard, if you use it while Dynamaxed, it won't miss, so it's kind of between those two. Flash Cannon, Stab. Grass Knight, because you have no special coverage, so you have no other move. Grass Knight's not terrible. I think it does 130 Dynamaxed, if I remember right. I think it does 130 Dynamaxed, which is not bad. Let's see. Forgot. Grass Knot does, yeah, 130 Dynamax, so it's not bad to have that just to do that extra damage. But onto the physical one, Waterfall, Still Wing, Earthquake. Like, you really don't have much options with your shoe stabs. Earthquake and Rock Slide, pretty good coverage. I like the 1-2 of Rock Slide, Earthquake, especially when you look at Empoleon's other moves. They just don't do a lot of damage, the other physical ones. You have Drill Peck, but the speed means nothing because you're slow. So the speed literally does nothing for you. You have Earthquake, you have Dig, but you have Earthquake. Why'd you use Dig? Brick Break's also an option if you want to raise your attack. Facade, well, no reason to use Facade. Or really Shadow Claw, honestly. Avalanche, low base power, especially because it doesn't have that same effect. I think it does 110 Dynamaxed. But that's why I said you're kind of stuck with those unless you want a normal move. But that's why I said this one's pretty good though overall, especially if you can get that Defiant boost if you get hit with a Dynamax move. I like the Aguav with this one too, because you want to get hit by, let's say you get hit by a Dynamax move that lowers your stats, now increases your attack because of Defiant, then they hit you with it again, another +2 from Defiant, then Aguav kicks in, so you get health back and you're at a +4. That's the best move they can use to you Dynamaxed. But some of the other moves Empoleon has, Hydro Pump, high damage, low accuracy. I don't really like it over Surf, but that's just my opinion. Feather Dance / Charm, same effect. It says it can't learn it, but it learns it now. It learns it now, level 1 apparently. Feather Dance, Charm, same effect. Lowers their attack by 2. It's good if you're running more of a supportive one. Same with Mist and doubles. You can't lose your stat effect. But if you're running I would do that more so if you're running a special one, because if you're physical, you want to have these stats lowered. So it has Swords Dance, but the main issue with Swords Dance is you raise your attack, but you're getting it twice in that effect. So unless you have Trick Room, Swords Dance is not really usable. Endure, Flail go together, 1 and 2, because Endure, let's say Trick Room, you Endure, 1 health. Flail has 250 base power, I want to say, at this point. So you're doing a ton of damage. That's not how you spell Pokemon. So you're just doing a ton of damage under the Endure, under the Flail. Let's see, max damage is, yeah, okay, so 200. So you're doing 200 every time. Plus, if you, let's say they hit you with a super effective move with Endure with a weakness policy, and you get Defiant, whatever. That's a ton of damage coming from that Flail from Empoleon, so you can kind of work with that. Again, Defog's another good move. Clears all terrain as a supportive one. Same with Swagger and Attract. Swagger, I don't really like Swagger that much since it got nerfed with the accuracy, and Confuse is a 1 in 3 now, I think, instead of a, I don't remember. Confusion got nerfed, so they don't hit themselves as often, which I don't really like that, because now Swagger, with the lowered accuracy and the fact that they have a higher chance to hit you, makes it not that good. Attract's just great because it's just amazing. Honestly, Attract's amazing when it comes down to just stalling. Especially if you hit Attract and Swagger on a special attacker, you kind of make it so they can't do anything. Or just Attract, Charm / Feather Dance. on something, you kind of can just really limit them. Also, Empoleon's really good with Defiant in doubles if they use something like Icy Wind too. Forgot about that. Icy Wind's really good, especially if you can switch in on it, kind of screw them over a little bit. Or just honestly in general, you switch in and then use Icy Wind. Because your ally next to you is really fast and a threat. You get that free +2. Now Empoleon's a threat too. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed.